We'll wait for a couple of more minutes. We'll wait for a couple more minutes. And then we'll start. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right then. So, have you people had any classes for communication skills so far? Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Have you
sir.
had any classes for
Yes, sir.
communication skills so far?
Yes, sir.
How many classes have you had so far? Just been a week, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, unfortunately, Dr. Vijay Babu, your teacher, is not well right now. So, the course has been assigned to me. I will see if it's possible for me to create a Google Classroom so that I don't have to send you links every time before a class. How many of you are familiar with the mechanics of a Google Classroom? Is there
Yes.
anybody who you used it before?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Almost all of you, all of us.
Now, instead of having to share the same link again and again, I'll just create a classroom and you people can, there will be a link on the classroom. You can use the same link throughout the semester. All right?
Okay, sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
It's not been decided. I'm so
Yes, sir.
sorry for you. You people happen to be that unfortunate lot. Something unanticipated happened to your teacher. He's been hospitalized. And we haven't decided if it's one teacher who's going to teach you the course or whether we will divide it between ourselves. All right. So for a couple of classes, this will be the ad hoc arrangement. This will be the makeshift arrangement. I'll send you a link. But once we have more certainty, I'll probably create a Google Classroom for you people. Was there an existing Google Classroom for this course?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But then your instructors in the hospital, so we can't kind of, Anyways, so what are the topics that have already been covered?
Morphology.
Morphology,
Sir, morphology.
done? Done with morphology?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Any
Yes, sir.
questions? So if I gave you a couple of words, you'll be able to break them down into their morphemes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see. How many morphemes are there in this word? Who's a
Three.
misanthrope?
Sir, three.
3.
What are those?
Sir, two.
Hmm. What are those?
Mish and Thrope.
Miss and Anthrop.
Adding, what does it mean? Misanthrope is an individual who? What is anthropology? What does anthropo stand for? Anthropocentric. Anthropocentric systems of knowledge. Anthropology is the study of
Human evolution.
man,
human evolution.
study of man. All right. So a philanthrope, you know the other word. Who's a philanthropist?
Person who does charity.
Yes, someone who is known for his love for mankind. And misanthrope, no, Arco, it's just miss plus anthrope. It's not rope, is not a, just as how many morphemes are there in this word?
One.
So one.
Only one.
Just
One.
because it's MIS does not mean that it always functions as a.
Individual morpheme.
The definition of morpheme is something, the smallest unit of language that carries meaning or has a grammatical function. All right. So it either should mean something or it should have some kind of a grammatical function. All right. For example, this word. Watch and ing. Now that ing is a morpheme because it has a grammatical function. What is that grammatical function?
Sir, ing.
Continuous.
It tells us, yes, the verb,
Present continuous.
tense.
Present
Okay.
continuous.
It tells us
Continuous
that the
verb.
action, whoever is watching is still watching, kind of, the action is still taking place. All right. So it either must have a grammatical function or it must have a meaning. Understood?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, please tell me, why do we have to basically think of language in morphological terms? What are we trying to do?
Sir, to separate out the meaningful words, or
Or how many of you would agree with me if I told you that English is a very word heavy language? What do I mean by word heavy? It has a massive word stock, an enormous vocabulary. No? Would you disagree with that statement?
yes, sir.
There are other languages which do not have a system of writing, for an example, languages that are purely spoken. How many words do you think you will find in such languages? Languages which are only spoken also means that they do not have a system of writing, which means no dictionaries, no grammar rule books. So a language like that, how many words do you think it can accommodate? Guys?
Sir, no word.
No word. How can you call it a language unless and until it has no words? I'm talking about, are you familiar that there are languages which are spoken by primitive communities, small groups of people, languages,
Tribal people.
yes, which have not developed the system of writing yet. So how many words do you think you will find in languages like that? Estimate no more than 4 to 5,000 words. All right. Why is it the number of words so limited in languages like these? Since they don't have any dictionaries, any word which fails to describe any aspect of their reality is automatically dropped out. Only words which basically continue to exist are the ones which are passed on from one generation to the next. All right. So, on the one hand, you have a primitive language, a rudimentary language, which does not have the resources to accommodate more than 4 or 5,000 words. But on the other hand, we have a language like English. How many words does the English language have?
Uncountable.
Millions of
It can never be infinite. Always remember that language is essentially speaking a finite number of rules, a finite number of words, which allows you to produce an infinite number of sentences and statements. All right. Although the resources of our vocabulary and the rules of grammar, no matter how comprehensive a language is, all right, no matter how internally elaborate or complex it is, even a language such as English, it has a limited vocabulary. So it could be basically different lexicographers will offer you different estimates. Some will say 1.5 million, some will say 4.5 million. It's still a lot of words, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
One thing, when you start thinking of language in morphological terms, when you basically start examining the morphological features of any language, it becomes possible for you to group things together in a more efficient manner. Now imagine a situation where you have only 5 shirts. Do you need a system of classification to account for every single one of them?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
All of a sudden, you have 500 shirts. What will you need now?
Classify them.
You have to classify them. If you want to account for every single one of those shirts, you have to find a way to classify them, to categorize them, all right? To assign them categories. No? Isn't, or do you think you can remember every individual shirt by its appearance?
No,
So,
sir.
No, sir.
Now, you can either classify these shirts on the basis of the fabric, or on the basis of the color, or on the basis of the size. You can basically devise any system of classification to account for these 500 shirts that you have. Similarly, in language, and especially when it comes to languages such as English, where, think about it, I mean, the sheer number of words. When you are encountered with the project of learning language, learning English, a language like English, you are also encountered with an impossible task. How can you commit so many words to your memory unless and until you learn to group them together, unless and until you find a way to classify or categorize them together?
Together.
Am I wrong?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Tell me, if we're going too fast, you can always ask me to slow down. If things seem to be going over your head once again, you can stop me, you can raise a question. See, asking questions in the classroom is always a good idea because there's 90 of you, you understand? And the thing is, if you have a doubt, there's a fair chance that 6 or 7 other students in the class might have the same doubt. So it gives me an opportunity to resolve these doubts at once for everyone. Right? So if you have any questions, please raise them. So this is one of the typical advantages. Now, there are, what other systems of classification exist within language? How can you classify all of a sudden, if you were to classify all the words of any language, what are the ways available to you?
Sir, sir, there are some words which generally not used on regular talking. We can classify like that also, maybe.
Frequency
There
of
are some
your,
words.
so you want to
There are
use
some
words, you want to classify words on the basis of the frequency of their use?
Uh,
How many categories will you have to form? If the number of categories that you have to form is the same number of entities covered by those categories, then is this a productive classification system?
No.
Is this a useful
No, sir.
classification system?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Basically, one level of complexity. Instead of trying to remember individual words, you will have to try and remember individual categories, which brings us back to square one. No progress made. Are there any natural ways in which words of a language can be classified?
Parts of speech.
Precisely. One system of classification is something that is already taught to you in grammar books. Parts of speech. So all the words that you will find in English language, they can be divided into these 6 or 7 categories. All right. Nouns are basically names for objects, things, people. Now, a majority of words that you will find in any language will be what? They'll be
Noun.
what?
Noun.
Nouns. Why
Noun.
will they be nouns?
Naming words.
Because one of the primary functions of language in our life is to name things, no? Every time a new biological species or a new kind of, plant species is discovered, every time they basically discover a new comet, a meteor, or a planet, or a sun, what's the first analytical move? What's the first thing that they do?
To name them.
Name them. Naming.
Naming.
Name them.
That around 40 to 50%, overwhelming mass of words in a language are nouns, basically is indicative of the fact that one of the functions of language in our life is to name objects. Right? Then what else do we have? We have verbs. So does language only describe things, or do you think it can describe events and actions as well?
Events
Events and actions.
Both.
As well.
If all the words in language were only nouns, do you think we will be able to describe events and actions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
One category of words, nouns. Second, we have verbs. Verbs designate actions. Like, I borrowed money. What is the verb there?
Borrow.
Borrowed.
Now, let me throw in another word. I hesitatingly borrowed money. What is hesitatingly in that sentence?
Adverb.
Adverb.
Adjective.
Adjective.
Adverb.
Not an adjective, it's an adverb.
Adverb.
Now, just as an adjective will modify a noun, so a sheep becomes black, white, purple, blue. If you're dreaming the sheep, you can give it any color you want. All right. The sheep is the noun, black, white, purple, blue are adjectives. The presence of an adjective will modify.
Noun. Quality of
Noun.
noun.
Quality of a noun.
So adjectives are words which give us clues about certain qualities which nouns have, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Similarly,
Yes, sir.
an adverb, the presence of an adverb will modify a verb. So the first action there was the action of borrowing money. You know that I'm borrowing money from a friend. Second, it tells you I hesitatingly borrowed money from my friend. Now you know something about the manner in which the action of borrowing took place. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Remember these things, this is what you call syntax. In language, meaning is produced. Do you think meaning is only produced on the level of words? How often do you use words in isolation? Just one word. You generally string them together, right? When you wish to convey something to someone.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You
sir.
either use them in the
Yes, sir.
form of sentences or you use them in the form of paragraphs. So there are different levels of meaning. And language, you're capable of producing meanings at all of these levels. Individual words are also meaningful. But then the order in which they are placed, like, for example, I am going to the mountain, right? One meaning.
Yes, sir.
Am
Yes,
I
sir.
going to the mountain?
Different meaning.
Words are identical, right? Did I change the words?
No,
No,
sir.
No,
sir.
I
sir.
just
No,
changed
sir.
the order, right?
Yes, sir.
So one level of meaning is individual words. Second level of meaning is sentences. Now imagine a situation where I'm writing a paragraph criticizing a government policy, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I have spent 2 paragraphs very, very vigorously criticizing a government policy. And towards the end of it, I say, I love this new policy. Right. What am I saying there? Am I being sincere or am I being sarcastic?
Sarcastic.
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 Same order, same sentence, but its meaning changes when you place it in the larger context of the paragraph in which it was written, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We already have so many different levels on which meaning can be produced. Now, knowledge of parts of speech is something that helps you develop a sense of syntax. Now, even if you do not know the meaning of the word hesitatingly, imagine I hesitatingly borrowed money is a sentence, and you do not know what is the meaning of the word hesitatingly. But you will look at the structure of that sentence. I know borrow is a verb, all right? And I is the person who's performing this action of borrowing. And the word just that appears just before the verb should be an
Adverb.
Adverb.
So even though you do not know the dictionary meaning of this word, you understand its function, the part it plays in the overall logic of the sentence, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Right.
This is one natural means of classification. But how many of you, this is okay. This is what grammarians teach you. This is what academicians perhaps also do. They might categorize words together on the basis of the fact that these are verbs, these are nouns. All right, academic people, they have a very weird way of thinking. But what you are trying to do is you're basically trying to what? Enhance your communication skills, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
Not
Yes, sir.
impress people with your academic understanding of English language. You're just trying to. Now, the natural way in which the human mind organizes things is according to similarity or difference of meaning, right?
Yes, sir.
This is where morphology comes into play. Because morphology, basically, you concentrate, you basically develop an awareness. There are a limited number of morphemes. All right. So once you have established the root, then you can start grouping words together. No?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You can form clusters of words. Remember, the task of basically trying to acquire any language is essentially a task of improving the size of your vocabulary. And the size of your vocabulary, especially when it comes to languages like English, which are extremely word heavy languages, you need to have sound principles of classification. Right. So limited number of prefixes, limited number of suffixes, and then there are these root words. So as long as you know the root word, you can group things together. No?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Helps you retain these words in your memory slightly more efficiently, doesn't it? How often does it
Yes, sir.
happen that you try to remember a word, you try to commit it to your memory, and then you forget it? Doesn't happen at all. It happens to me all the time.
Yes, sir. It
Sometimes happens,
happens quite often. Yes, sir.
Because see, the principles according to which we group things, the principles according to which we classify objects. Now, imagine these are all entities out in the nature, words. Don't think of them as words for a second. These are entities out there in the nature, phenomena. Now, you need some kind of a classification system, or else we'll go crazy, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
If we
sir.
started
Yes, sir.
experiencing everything in its individual particularity, instead of looking at it as a member of a class, I think it would have a very, very troublesome sort of an effect on our mind. Don't know. I do not have the confidence to make the claim that we'll probably go crazy. But then we have this tendency, whenever we meet something new, we always have this tendency to try and establish its category, where it comes from, so that we can predict its behavior, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If you started experiencing everything in its individual particularity, like all cups were not member of a category like cups, right? So cups of all shape and size. Now imagine if I had to remember this guy by its name and the three other cups which are there on my kitchen sink by their names. Do you think how bewildering will this process get eventually?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So,
One of the reasons why you probably cannot retain words in your memory, reasons why you basically try very, very hard to commit words to your memory, but then there are failures of retention. A month later, geez, don't remember what I was trying to, right? So one of the ways in which you can minimize this margin of failure is by trying to classify these words slightly more efficiently. That's where morphology basically comes into play. Mm. There's no good reason for students of engineering to pay attention to morphology unless there's only one reason. It basically helps you efficiently categorize words. It helps you cluster words together, forming chains of association between words. Now, even if you cannot remember a particular word, if you remember the chain of association, you can eventually work your way to that word, right? We do not establish chains of association. How do you remember things? Either on the basis of their similarity or on the basis of their difference, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what
Yes.
Yes, sir.
morphology helps you achieve. Instead of parts of speech, which is actually an artificial sort of a system of classification favored by grammarians, right? Morphology takes you closer to meaning. You learn to group words, you learn to group their functions, you learn to group what role they play in the overall logic of whatever you're writing uh, according to their meanings. All right, and which is a very, very important move. Guys, am I understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Questions?
sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? No questions whatsoever. Morphology has been completely, did Yadu sir teach you all of it? What are free and bound morphemes?
So free are those which can stand by itself, and bound are those which need help of other.
So prefixes and suffixes are?
Bound
Bound.
morphemes.
Bound
Bound.
morphine.
Because they have a grammatical function, but they lack meaning. All right. They cannot stand
Yes,
on
sir.
their own. They cannot function as a word on their own. They're not independent categories of meaning, although they carry a grammatical function. Um, how many other, there are other, did we talk about any other systems of classification? Right?
Synonyms and antonyms.
Antonyms. So this is one of the most. Now, when you say you understand something, what is it that you're trying to suggest? Take the example of Corona, right? It's a common problem, a problem that is affecting all of our lives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, why do you think that the measures that we are trying to take against this sickness have proven so ineffective? Generally, how long does it take for you to properly study a disease? Do you think that's a process that can be rushed into 6 months?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
The data which is necessary, it's not just about how a disease affects one individual, but these are people who have to deal with the phenomena of population and population different. So apparently the same disease does not produce similar symptoms in two different people. Sometimes some people go asymptomatic, some people basically develop mild symptoms. All right. So the way the disease spreads as well. Now, imagine the medical knowledge we have about corona is still very limited, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
it
sir.
takes years and years for pathologists
Yes.
to study a particular disease, its kind of transmission patterns across people, demographic distribution, right? Its causes, its effects, its similarity to existing diseases, its difference from existing diseases, right? One of the reasons why we haven't been able to respond very effectively to this particular pandemic is we lack in understanding. Right. So, what does this understanding include?
Social distancing.
No, we're talking about. I'm talking about what does understanding. What do you mean when you say you understand something?
To avoid
So
major precautions.
understanding the actual meaning of the word.
Think and follow.
Forget about
Have
words.
information about.
Quantum physics, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
When do you say that you have a very good understanding of quantum physics?
When we don't actually understand
When
it.
we are expertise.
When do you become an expert? When you have memorized all of its propositions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No. No, sir.
When we can think about the problems and make suggestions to to resolve the
When we
issues.
can come up with predictions.
Close. Predictions are also close.
When we
When we
analyze.
can give answers with the
We can
basic
solve real life problems.
What is the function of memory? One of the ways in which we use our memory is so that we can draw upon previous experiences so that we can solve the problems of our
Present ones.
present.
Current situation.
This requires establishing some amount of similarity between two objects or two problems, right? Also need to be understood in the context of the difference. Just because there is similarity does not mean there is a relationship of identity between two objects, right?
Yes,
You know
sir.
the difference between similarity and identity?
Yes, sir.
Identical is absolutely the same. And
yes, sir.
similar is something that has a bit of differences.
Little bit. Huh.
Precisely. This is what you mean when you're basically trying to, when you suggest that you have understood a problem, what you're essentially trying to say is that you have understood its causes, you have understood its effects, you have also established some similarities between the present problem and existing problems, as well as a few differences, right? This is the awareness. Hence, antonyms and synonyms are so important, especially when it comes to remembering word roots. Because the human mind basically thinks not just logically, but analogically. What do I mean by that? What does analogy mean? What is an analogy?
Sir, it's like
Comparison.
establishing a relation between two things.
Comparison.
Comparison between two things.
It's a
Comparison.
comparison between two different areas of experience, or it's a comparison between two very, very different objects, kind of. You're trying to understand one thing on the basis of
Another known thing.
Another.
precisely. So that which is known is understood on the basis of that which is
Not.
Unknown.
That which is unknown is basically understood on the basis of that which is known. So it's not just the logical kind of, processes of the human mind. The human mind also thinks analogically. And one of the effective ways in which you can establish relationships between various categories, various words. See, it's a brimming multiplicity. It's the kind of plurality which is unmanageable. That's how many words we have in English language. The only way you can make this plurality manageable, this chaotic diversity manageable, is by establishing proper categories, forming proper chains of association, linking words with each other, either on the basis of their similarity or on the basis of their difference. Right? This is how all of these things. Now, the artificial system of classification parts of speech, I'm not saying that's useless. You have to keep that in your mind too. When it comes to language, all of these strategies are necessary. They're not mutually exclusive ways of thinking about language. Just because you know what morphemes are does not mean that you can have no understanding of what verbs are. Or just because your mind basically classifies words morphologically does not mean that knowledge of parts of speech is not very useful. All of these strategies simultaneously, you get it. You are tasked with probably one of the most impossible challenges that any language has to offer. Right. 1.5 to 4.5 million. That's a lot of words. Why does English have so many words, by the way?
Sir, because it's been evolved in since the ages.
All languages are. There are languages in this world which predate English.
Sir, it has been influenced by many other languages.
So it has
How did that
adopted some
happen?
words from other languages as well.
Precisely. So the English language is so internally complex, not just so that it can make the life of Indian engineering students difficult, also because it has been borrowing heavily. It almost every single world language that it has come in contact with, it has assimilated elements, words from them, right? Hence an ungainly vocabulary that people estimate could be 4.5 million. That's just a lot of words. Do you think there is no other language in the world that is more wordy? There are languages which are more wordy than English, but then English is up there. I mean, probably in the most difficult 3 or 4. So you get it. The reason why, the practical implications of why these things are important.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Were
Yes,
you
sir.
people given any handouts? Did you get any handouts, reading material?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you share that with me so that I can go through it and then assess your situation slightly better? Who's the class representative? CR?
Yes, sir.
Rakesh, will you send me the handouts that the previous wala sir had sent you?
Yes, sir.
Vijay Babu sir.
Yes.
I have to, abhi beech mein you people have been assigned to me, but then I need to form an assessment of how much work has been done, what direction we need to take next and all of that, right?
Yes, sir.
I can't do that unless and until I take a look at the handouts which were given to you by the last teacher. All right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any questions? No questions? You guys haven't got any questions at all? All right then. I'll see you people next class. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, are you the first?
Yeah. I'm ending this class. Ask the class representative to send me the handouts either on my email address or my WhatsApp, which has been added to the group. All right. See you guys. Bye.